Okay, this is going to be my first demo program tutorial. In order to do a tutorial, you got to have a print. So I'm going to be bouncing around over here to a print. Right here. And I'm going to store on my screen right here. And if you have a way of screen capturing that, it might be nice that you can screen capture that and print it out for yourself so that you can kind of follow along on it. But what we're going to do is we're going to make this point right here 0, 0. That will be we're going to machine this whole end and this bore and all of this straight through right here, just to give you a little demonstration of how to do it. So let's get started. In order to start on it, first thing you're going to do is start on by clicking on the lathe to begin running and launch the Lathe Cam product. And it's going to come up with just a blank screen. Over here on the right hand side is all of your icons. As you notice, the only one that's lit up is the material, and that's where you're always going to start. It's the only thing that's lit up that you can choose. So you'll select the material. And there is a quick screen over here that gives you a little picture box of of how you're going to chuck this piece of material and all of the questions, kind of like the shortcut mode. What you really want to do is look down here at the bottom left hand corner and read the question down here and then answer the question in the little box right there. So I'm going to pull up the little picture over here again, and I'm going to look at this. It shows that it's at 8.63 diameters, this biggest diameter. So we're going to say we're going to make this part out of a piece of 1018, just mild steel, and we're going to say that the material is 8 3/4 diameter is what we're going to purchase for this. So I'm going to come back over here, and the first thing is how much material is sticking out past the chuck jaws. Well, I'm going to say, for instance, I'm just going to stick it out, let's say 3 inches. How much are you going to chuck on? Let's just say I'm going to chuck on 1 inch of material. And the material OD is going to be 8 3/4. ID will be 0. We're going to face off about 100 thousandths. The chucking type is going to be a 1 OD or 2 ID or 3R collet, but I want to use step jaws. So I'm going to enter it as a -1. And then what is the length or height of your jaws? We'll call them maybe 2-inch tall jaws. And then we're going to select over here a type of material. We'll just go with 1018. It's going to throw that little screen up here, and then from here we're going to type in a description of something. I'm just going to type in sample tutorial program, operation number 1. And now we're going to have a piece of material chucked up, and you can zoom this up multiple ways. You can just take the mouse, put it where you want it, hold the left mouse button down and drag it diagonally, and then release it and it will zoom in. Also, there's a icon over here on the right for magnifying. If you hit the right mouse button, when you click on it, it will zoom down. If I hit the left mouse button, it will zoom it up. So I can actually zoom it up and down just by clicking the little mouse button right there. From there, I want to do a face and turn operation. So I'm going to select my tool change command, and I'm going to come up and pick a CNMG style tool with a 30-second radius, and I'm going to select OK. And I'm going to go through the questions: the tool number, offset number, tip type 3, starting diameter, let's just call it a 10-inch diameter, and 8 inches, 30-second tool radius, the max spindle speed, maybe I want to limit it to 1,000 RPM, Run it at 500 surface feet. I want the spindle direction to be forward. The work offset, I'm going to use G54, and the size of the insert of the tool, and a text comment. Now I have the tool sitting up right here. We're going to do a tool change. I need to get it down here somewhere so I can rapid it and face this off. To rapid, I'm going to use this very first icon. It's called rapid. So I'm going to select rapid, and I'm going to go to 8.9. Let's say that's above my material, and maybe 1 inch off the face, just to kind of get it up here somewhere above it. I'll zoom it up over here, and then from there I'm going to do rapid it again, stay at the same diameter, and then move it over to maybe 100 thousandths off the face. So I can see that I'm above my part. I didn't crash into it. I'm a little bit above. And now I want to do what's called a facing operation. This little guy right here is the simplest way to always face off your part. Just do what's called a quick face, and I can tell it that I want to use a can cycle, and I want to face down to X0, Z0, no X stock. If I want to leave some stock on the face, now is the time I can tell it 5 thousandths, 10 thousandths, however much stock you want to leave on the face, and then what depth of cut you would like to take, and a feed rate. And it will face the part off. Right over here to the right, there's a little scroll bar. This is your animation control on how fast the animation will be. I can drag this thing up or down and click the redraw, and you can see that I can slow the animation down so that I can actually see more of what it does. With this little guy right here, when it's all the way up, the graphics will be very fast, which is where you want it most of the time, but sometimes you want to slow it down to watch the details. And from there, I want to do a rough turning operation. You have multiple types of roughing operations. One's a roughing boundary for face during a facing operation. Then you have a turning or boring operation. There's an undercutting operation, and there's an undercutting operation on the face of the part. I'm just going to do a simple rough turn or rough bore cycle. Rough turn. Again, I'm going to use a can cycle. That means it's going to output usually a G71, like a foot-up can cycle. Start from 8 3/4, Z.1. Maybe I want to leave 20 thousandths X stock, maybe 5 thousandths Z stock. Give it a depth of cut, a retract amount. The retract is how much you're going to retract off the part before it makes the next cut, and then a feed rate. Let's do a 12. And from there, I need to create my very first point. So in order to figure out my very first point that I want to, basically what you do is once you turn on the roughing cycle down here, you're just going to program the finished toolpath. That's all you're going to do. Show it what the finished part looks like, and then it's going to rough it in. So if I was to go back and look at my picture, if I was to look right here, I can't. Oh, yes, let's zoom it up a little bit. You can see right here, my first point is going to be right there. Okay, well, that point right there, the X value is going to be this dimension right here plus its tolerance. Okay, plus this dimension right here plus its tolerance. Well, this tolerance here would be 60 plus half of that would be 15, which would be 75 thousandths. Okay, in diameter, that means this point is 150 thousandths in diameter, bigger than this dimension right here. So I'm going to be entering that starting point is going to be 6.535 plus 150. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to enter my first point. Okay, and I'm going to put this back up here, 6.535. 6.535. I'm going to put in plus 0.150. It will actually do the multiplication, addition, subtraction all within this little window. If you just type it in and then hit the equal sign on your keyboard, it'll actually do the math for you. And then the first point will be at Z0. So it's going to drop down here, and it's going to be, that's my first point. From there, I'm going to cut up here at an angle. And where does it say to cut to? Well, my first point here, my next point right here is going to be this point right up in here. That next point is at 8.02 diameter. But you also see I don't know the Z value, which is perfectly fine. all I need to know is the angle, right? And the angle is right here, 37.5 degrees. So I'm going to go at 37.5 degrees. I'm going to get until I get to this diameter right here. So I can just go up there and just tell it that. I'm going to tell it do a point to 8.02 diameter. The Z value, I'm going to put a question mark because it doesn't, print doesn't give it to me. So I'm going to tell it I don't know by putting a question mark. And the angle, you have to drive the tool always by the compass. So if I was going to go straight up, that'd be 90 degrees. I don't want to go straight up. I want to go 90 degrees plus 37.5. So I'm going to type it in. It's 90 plus 37.5. It equals, which is 127.5, and add a feed rate. And you'll notice that it will calculate the Z value, and it throws it in the little window over here and tells you, well, the calculated Z point at that angle is minus 5122. So now I'm there. Now I got to continue up to this diameter at 10 degrees. So I'm going to go to 8.63 at 10 degrees. So I'm going to come back over here and do another point until it go to 8.63. Again, I don't know it, so I'm going to tell it a question mark. This time I'm going to go at 100 degrees, which is 90 plus 10, and same feed rate. And now it will calculate what that point is. And from there, I'm going to turn back some distance. I can just tell it a point at 8.63, and let's go minus 2 inches. And then I will move it up off the part, back to my top of my part boundary. And so I've created the path that I need to remove the stock from, and I'm going to do it first I want to see the tool comp. I'm going to click the little tool compensation guy right there. And then I'm going to select end the roughing cycle. From there, it's going to calculate the roughing passes, and I'm going to send that tool home. And to slow it down the animation, do a redraw. Show my roughing passes. And there you have it. That's how to do a simple face and rough turning operation.